they're not shy about slugging out on the on social media platforms. This has become a sort of ego race as well. These are the founders of very powerful companies who actually control them. So they're very happy to throw brickbats at each other.
Mark Sellman, tech correspondent from The Times, thank you so much for joining the Tech Report today.
Thank you very much.
Let's get into what's happened with Mark Zuckerberg. Now, of course, we saw the Meta's second quarter earnings released last week, but he's given his thoughts on an earnings call about the future. And he said, I continue to think that glasses are basically going to be the ideal form factor for AI, because you can let an AI see what you see throughout the day, hear what you hear, and talk to you. I think in the future, if you don't have glasses that have AI or some way to interact with AI, I think you're probably going to be at a pretty significant cognitive disadvantage compared to other people. So, Mark, my takeaway from that, and let me know if it's yours, is that Mark Zuckerberg does believe that Meta and these AI glasses that they're producing will basically replace the iPhone.
Well, that's what he's hoping, and it's quite a way to sell your product, to tell everyone they're going to be more stupid if you don't have it on your face. So, but I think he's been particularly buoyed by the sales of the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, which have sold in the millions, which is not, a mass market product, but it's clearly a sign that people are happy to have a device on their face that, replicate some of the functions of a phone, and are prepared, obviously, if it looks good. And obviously the tie-up with Ray-Ban has been crucial in this. If it's convenient and it looks good, they're willing to put up with it if it gives you functionality. Quite whether it will replace the smartphone is another matter. And I think, when you look at the functionality of these glasses at the moment, they are tethered to a phone, and they need the My AI app, the Meta app, for certain functionality. That there are some glasses that are coming out that are standalone devices. Snap, the company that makes Snapchat, are bringing out a version next year that are standalone devices and don't need to be tethered to a smartphone. But Mark Zuckerberg would love to get away from the smartphone. He's always hated the fact that Apple or Google can completely, at a stroke, change his business model or cost him tens of billions of dollars, as they did when they made a crucial privacy change. So he wants to get away from that product and make you buy this and really stay on his social media platforms as long as possible.
In the same call, Mark Zuckerberg, he was speaking about his quest to hire top talent. And you know, I've spoken about this before. There's a bit of a hiring war going on in the Silicon Valley. It's kind of dominating a lot of the headlines in the tech world, and it will dominate this interview as well. But there were reports that Meta was offering contracts of up to $300 million for certain talent. Now, in this call, he said, we're building an elite, talent-dense team. If you're going to be spending hundreds of dollars on compute and building out multiple gigawatt of clusters, then it really does make sense to compete super hard out to do whatever it takes to get that, 50 or 70 or whatever it is, top researchers to build your team. There's just an absolute premium for the best and most talented people. So what's your response to that?
Well, there is a logic to it. That you, as you say, you're spending hundreds of billions on the data centers, and the talent, the people who write the algorithms, are a crucial third plank in the creation of AI. The other plank being the data that goes into the model. So there is a logic to it, and when you're producing cash at the rate that Meta is, it's a very successful business. Its share price is up like 29% in the last period of time. So there is a logic to creating this talent pool, where he's obviously felt that they've lagged behind at Meta, and their products have not been as successful as their competitors.
Elon Musk, he weighed in on this hiring war, Mark. It was quite an entertaining post on X. He wrote, many strong meta engineers have and are joining XAI, and without the need for insane initial comp, still great but not unsustainably high. Also, XAI has vastly more market cap growth potential than Meta, and we are hyper merit based. Do something great and your comps can shift. So a bit of a punch to Meta from Elon Musk. He's basically saying, look, we don't need to divvy out these insane contracts to get the top talent. They're coming towards us.
Well, these two nearly had a fight. As you remember, that in mixed martial art, they challenged each other, and it never came to fruition. But they're not shy about slugging out on the on social media platforms. This has become a sort of ego race as well. These are the founders of very powerful companies who actually control them. So they're very happy to throw brickbats at each other. I'm not quite sure, in terms of the people that XAI is being able to hire, that it's quite the level of poaching that's been going on from Meta. And Meta has now hired quite a senior engineer and co-founder of ChatGPT as their chief scientist. It has had success in poaching from OpenAI and Apple, but less so from Anthropic, from Intelligent Machines and Safe Superintelligence, the other big spin-offs from OpenAI. People there are not prepared to take those huge pay packages. Obviously, those pay packages also not necessarily as good as they sound initially. They'll have a huge salary attached to them, but they are mostly stock driven packages, so it can take a while for that money to come on stream, and is not as huge as they seem, but it is extremely large when you look at everyday packages. Yes.
Well, one of them that's making the headlines this week is this $250 million contract, Mark, from Meta that paid a 24-year-old apparent computer whiz $250 million to join Meta. It is, according to The Times, where you're working, the largest employment contract in history, or one of. So pretty insane for a 24-year-old kid. So do you think this is the new world we're living in, where the best paid jobs, the most sought after careers will be AI?
Well, it's a very narrow pool, I think. When you look at the skills that are required, obviously this is a market, and it has changed the state of play for that very narrow pool. But you're really talking about maybe a few dozen, hundreds of people. So quite whether that'll trickle down into the rest of the market is unseen. I mean, when we've asked around here, it hasn't quite trickled down into the rest of Europe and to poaching from labs over here yet. So, but listen, that may yet happen. But this is a sort of extraordinary time where Zuckerberg knows that he's generating a lot of cash and is willing to invest it in this near-term future to build what he says is a super intelligent lab, and there is a sort of logic to that. Instead of saying sending the money back to investors or building another data center.
Just back on to Elon Musk, Mark. Tesla this week, a federal judge in Miami has ordered Tesla to pay $243 million in damages over a 2019 car crash involving its autopilot system failure. The crash killed a woman and then injured her boyfriend. And then the jury basically found that Tesla was 33% liable for the crash, concluding that its driver assist system failed to warn or disengage appropriately on an unsuitable road. Now, the Tesla stock fell 1.8% Friday afternoon after the news broke out. Now, of course, stocks will bounce back, but how do you think this story will affect the company?
Well, it is the first case first ruling to find Tesla actually liable. There have been many cases that have gone the other way or have been settled. So the market and the legal experts were seeing this as a significant ruling that may encourage others to come forward with similar claims. Obviously, there are many Teslas out there and many incidents that happen. Quite whether they're at this level where it's a tragic case where this driver picked up a phone that fell on the floor and his car went through a junction where he thought the car would not go through the junction. So it is a very interesting area because the legal liability of these self-driving cars is still a still fluid thing. And legislation obviously has been brought forward in the UK to try and establish where the liability lies, but on the facts of the case it is always very difficult to pinpoint. But a lot of this comes down to how the devices or how the cars are marketed, and a lot of the criticism at Tesla has been that they're being marketed as being full self-driving, or and has given the impression that the car can do more than it actually can.
Well, just finally on this note, Mark, how do you think this will hurt Elon Musk's desire to make driverless cars the norm? Because he's basically told his investors to stick with him on the road to make sure that robotaxis are the next big thing. After a pretty poor Q2 result for Tesla, he said to investors, to his team, that this is the future. Robotaxis. They're trying to expand robotaxis out of Austin into California and ideally the rest of the United States, so that anyone in these states can basically jump into a driverless taxi and that just be the norm. And then, of course, make Tesla even more profitable. But when you've got a situation like this where a jury finds them 33% liable for this crash, I wonder how it will affect those Tesla consumers, those Tesla people that want to use these driverless cars and don't feel like they're safe.
Well, you saw the Tesla reaction to this verdict, and actually it was a wider comment about essentially a vote against the future of autonomous driving vehicles. So I think it does have potentially long-term implications, and unless over the next period of time the company and other self-driving companies are able to prove that their cars are safer than human-driven cars. And that's always been the sell from the companies, that this will make our roads safer. Unfortunately, the way that we humans work is that if there is one case like this or several cases like this, even if it doesn't isn't balanced out by the millions of safe cases, we will focus on that, and that will be a fear and may make people hesitant about getting in these cars and taking their hands off the wheel, which, by the way, Tesla says that drivers should always be there to intervene. So we're not quite there yet, but as Waymo has shown in San Francisco, it has become the norm that people are very happy to jump into cabs now that have no human drivers in them, and that will become even more normal in certain American cities. We just need to see where the next stage comes, and whether these cars will be available for owners, as Tesla want, to essentially hire out as autonomous vehicles.
Mark Sellman, thank you so much for joining the Tech Report today.
Thank you very much.